everyone, welcome to Getting Cozy with the Cozies. My name is Jackie. I'm the Asian American Pacific Islander Involvement Area Community Organizing Student Intern, and today I organized this podcast to be discussing disordered eating in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Joining me are some of my fellow executive board members from the Asian American Student Union. So if they could introduce themselves. Also, my pronouns are she, her, hers. So starting with Dahe, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Dahe. I'm a sophomore. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am co-VP of Community Education with Jackie.
Sagar, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sagar. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a sophomore. My position is co-social chair.
And then Patrick.
So I'm Patrick. I'm a sophomore. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the VP of Administrative Affairs.
We are talking here today about disordered eating. What I want to start off first is by distinguishing what many think disordered eating is versus eating disorders. So I think a lot of us understand what an eating disorder is. We learned about it in health class, whether it be like, anorexia or bulimia. We understand that it's deeply pathological eating behaviors and patterns that result in really poor health issues. However, disordered eating is a little bit different. It might not be as severe, and it's traditionally necessarily like smaller thoughts or practices that concern exercise, diet, and eating habits that can be considered problematic because you're not nourishing your body as much. However, it's not considered as severe as eating disorders. And as a result, a lot more people may experience issues with disordered eating rather than eating disorders. And specifically, we're trying to bring an Asian American and Pacific Islander lens to it, examining the ways in which colonialism, white supremacy, representation influence disordered eating in our community. So the next thing we wanted to discuss was the ways in which the families we were brought up in influence the ways in which we view our bodies. I think there's an inherent dynamic within Asian American Pacific Islander families, which is why I think like our community can find that sort of unity, because we were all raised with similar ideals and dynamics, but that obviously influences the way in which we view our bodies. So personally for me, I think a lot of it was me mirroring after my mom. We never really had those kinds of conversations where we talked about in depth the insecurities we have about our bodies, but I think it was like in offhand comments that my mom would make where she's like, I look fat in this shirt or something like that. It conveys like those inherent messages that fatness is something that shouldn't be desired. Or, offhand comments my parents would make about some people like, oh, they're fat, and saying it in sort of like a negative tone. Like, obviously, when you're surrounded by those messages by the people you care about the most, it begins to establish a framework in your mind that I can never be that fat, or else like it'll be horrible. And so I think being raised in that kind of family dynamic, and also my parents always told me that I was the skinny one in the family. Like I was the one who was always going to be forever skinny. And I felt like I was held to that ideal and that standard. And that caused me to think really problematically in the future, because like once you reach like puberty, then your body starts to change and you're not as like, that like skinny person anymore. So I think like the fact that my parents discussed these, like made comments about these things, but we never talked about it in depth, meant that like I would feel horrible about doing some like eating or like dieting behaviors, but I could never enunciate why, because we never talked about those kinds of things in my family.
I can definitely speak to that because for me, I'm really lucky because like my parents have never directly told me, because I've heard stories of like where parents directly tell their children, oh, you're fat, like you should lose weight. I've had friends whose moms have been like, oh, like, you should lose weight or else you're not gonna get a boyfriend and things like that. For me, it was my parents are more of the off. And like they'll be talking about somebody else, or like they'll talk about my siblings. And so something that like my dad always does, even to this day, is, oh, like my sister and my brother are both really really skinny, and so he's always like, oh, like you, like your mom, like your sister and like your brother, always they should eat more, but like you and me, like we're fine, like blah blah blah. And he never inherently told me that I was fat, and like I know I'm not, but like those comments made me question from, I think, honestly, my earliest memory of him telling me that was probably like 9 or 10. And so from that age, I was like, oh, like, that's when I started to question, like, should I be
Mhm.
losing weight?
Yeah.
And then also another thing is like my body frame is different from my siblings, because when I work out and like when I gain muscle, like I like bulk up, I guess, as opposed to like being like looking toned, and that's how like my brother and my sister are built. And
Mhm.
so having that constant comparison, even like as I was, you know, exercising more and like eating healthier, having my dad still say things like that, that definitely like, I don't know, it stuck with me, and it's
Mhm.
something that definitely affects the way that I see food and like my relationship with food to this day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can definitely see that once because I think it's different when it comes from parents because they mean so much to you. And like for me personally, I really care about the ways in which my family views me. So to hear that kind of narrative from your own parent, I think sticks with you in ways that maybe a comment from like a stranger wouldn't.
I mean, the first thing that I think of when we think like when we bring family into the picture is wasting food. That is the first thing
Mhm.
that I think of. Every single time, like we're at the dinner table. My dad is sitting right across from me, and I'm pushing up. There are 2 or 3 grains of I'm going to put it into the sink. My dad is like, Sagar, get back here. Come back and sit down right now. I
Mhm.
have something to tell you about. Right. And I'm slightly confused, but yeah, I do have an appreciation for food. I don't take that for granted at all. Right. But it's almost as if they're sort of feeding me this image that, oh, we have to live up to our ancestors. We have to live up to our cousins that are living in India. And to just like the hardships that everyone else are experiencing, we have
Mhm.
to not take it for granted. My dad would talk about, like, go on a tangent about how, like, oh, back in the day, every
Mhm.
second, every penny, every piece of food mattered.
Yeah.
And you tossing that grain of rice will change everything.
Mhm. I think that's like inherently tied to like every single like immigrant family narrative. Like
Right.
them like leveraging the sacrifices that like I came to this country so you could have all of this food and this is how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
treat me. Like I
It's
think
this
that's
kind
like
of
an
dialogue. It's like, I came in with $6.
yeah.
Yeah.
It gets lower.
Look at where I am.
Look at what I am now.
be the smallest
Look
thing
at
in
where
the
I
whole
am.
like
No,
painful
it's
backstory of
$7.
when I was younger, I didn't have this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That whole idea of like you need to eat everything that's given to you is also tied to the idea that like a lot of API families represent their love through food. Like I can speak to that
Mhm.
personally. Like I know my dad,
Yeah.
who is traditionally not like a very like emotional or affectionate person through his words,
Right.
exemplifies it through his cooking. And so it's like an affront to him if I don't like something he eats because it's him being like, I'm trying to care for you. And so you feel obligated now to finish everything. But then when you also have to try and like meet all of these different like ideals, you feel like so guilty afterwards. But again, like you can't enunciate why.
Mhm.
You know what he said that like the eat every rice on your plate thing is very like Asian or very immigrant, but it's also distinctively among like developing nations like India and the Philippines. I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
narrative of struggle is more there. Like, but I think the paradox of like the immigrant family is that whenever like family members or like family friends see you, they either say you're too skinny or they say you're too
Mm-hmm.
fat, and there's no like in between that is accepted by these people who obviously you look up to, obviously they care for you, and so you're always trying to find like that perfect balance. And I think it's incumbent upon us to not look for that. I mean, I part of like self-acceptance is not really learning that balance, but learning to accept who we are despite what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for us to communicate that to our family members.